where to even begin? I have just a short question that I want to get out of the way, which
Yeah.
is that my husband and I, like real freaks, watched Sky News via BritBox on election night so that we could see
Wow.
what you saw. And a bunch of people sort of tried to lay the blame for all of this, not only at the feet of Rishi Sunak, but
Mhm.
in particular at his decision to call the election on July 4th. And it just kind of seems to me, please correct me if I'm wrong, like cope. Because while it's true that the economy might have been better in the fall, it's also true that you don't know what's going to happen over the summer. For example, if
Yeah.
there's a huge wave of people trying to seek asylum or immigrate to the UK, that then reflects on Tories who are trying to position themselves as the anti-migrant party, and so on and so forth. So it was. Do you think in the aftermath too much weight was placed on the date?
Yeah, basically. I think it's cope in about three different ways. So one is, look, they were massively behind the polls. As things stood, they were always going to lose badly. They did lose badly, but there's no particular reason to think that they would have won in November or even lost less badly. Um, Secondly, there the reasons why they called the election when they did were not crazy. There are two main ones that have been cited. One is that things were just not going to get any better in the time they had available. The boats were not going to stop in terms of the migrant boats coming over from France. There was one particular factor that reportedly the Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden was particularly concerned about, which was that every month more people were coming onto new mortgage deals, which were significantly worse than the ones that they were on before. And so you just had, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of people a month suddenly finding that they were significantly worse off, and that was only going to get worse because interest rates are always going to be higher than they were last time these people got their mortgages negotiated. So that's not a crazy consideration for them to have taken into account. And then thirdly, I think you have to disentangle two things. One is they made a decision to go for July, which I think is defensible. But secondly, they handled the start of the campaign in particular incredibly badly. You remember Rishi Sunak in the rain, things going to get better um, uh, playing on the loudspeakers outside, a mess of an early part of the campaign, going home early from D-Day, all these things. Those were things that made the campaign really bad. They would not have happened in the same way if the election had been called at a different time. But I don't think that that's an indictment of the date. It's an indictment of poor management of the election as a whole. So I think it is mostly cope. The one other thing is we talked about Nigel Farage in previous weeks, who came back to lead reform. He and to say that he would stand. He actually did win he won a seat along with four other reform MPs. So there are five reform MPs, which is the most that there have ever been from them or their predecessor parties. Part of the complaint is if only they waited till autumn, Nigel Farage would have been stuck in America helping the Trump campaign. He wouldn't have come back. The reason he came back when he did was because he wasn't tied up yet. I think, to be honest, we live in a world now where, we can communicate with America now. We're doing it even on this podcast. It's not that hard for Nigel Farage to jump on a plane back to the UK. It's not that big a deal for him to say to Donald Trump or to his campaign in, I don't know, September, October, I know I said I was going to do an appearance with you, but now I'm not because I'm going back to stand in the UK. It's just not a big deal. Trump wouldn't have cared. So, I think that's hugely overstated. He did take advantage, but would he have taken advantage in November? I think he probably would.